Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. I hope you are having a wonderful afternoon. Today we're going to put together an arrangement for a funeral. Now, this is actually, I have had to look at a picture. It was a teleflora arrangement. I can't honestly even tell you the name of the arrangement. But it had a some type of figurine or something in it. So they asked that we add something because we are not affiliated with teleflora, so therefore we don't carry their products. So we're going to use a cross. And always be sure when you add a gift to an arrangement, and let me just say that I'm the world's worst, take off the price. My sister, every year for Christmas, I give her a gift and I have left the price on, and she'll say, "You left the price on?" And I said, "Don't worry, I didn't spend full price." So what we're going to use is, this is kind of a ceramic type, almost even a concrete type container. It's pretty heavy. I have placed a block of fresh floral foam that has been soaked. Anytime you are using fresh floral foam, make sure it is always soaked. Now what I'm going to do is trim just a little bit off the top of this foam. It's a little high, and then I'm going to try to get it as even as possible so that I can place my cross on top. Always soak your fresh floral foam before you get started, okay? I have filled the reservoir with water, so it holds plenty of water. Anytime you're using a container though, go and fill it up. Fill it up with water and let it sit on your workspace for just a little while to make sure that it's going to hold water. Every once in a while you will get a container that does not hold water. And so you don't want that container to leak. And especially when it's going to someone's home, you don't want it to leak. Now, the cross that I'm using is a tabletop cross, so it sits really well on a table. I am setting it right on top of this floral foam, and then I am going to take my waterproof tape and I am going to tape this down. Not only am I taping the cross into the arrangement, but I'm also taping my foam down into my container. It's important that your mechanics are well put together, so be sure to tape everything in really well, especially if you're going to deliver it. Now, I would say if you're not delivering it and it's for home, it's a little different. I mean, if it's just going to be for your home and you know it's not going to move from that place, I wouldn't worry about it so much. But because this arrangement is going to the funeral home and it'll be moved, you need to make sure that this cross isn't going to fall out of this container. Now next, what I'm going to do is I am taking this tape and I'm going all the way around the top of this container to tape those strips down to the container. That's just a little added security that tape's not going to come loose. Okay, so our cross is in place, and you're not going to be able to see the tape because I'm going to add flowers and foliage. Now, the greenery that I've chosen is just a mixed eucalyptus. So I have, let's see what all we have here. We have a little silver dollar eucalyptus. We have some spiral eucalyptus and a little bit of seeded. So we'll start out with our silver dollar euc. And we're going to just take it. This is kind of a long and low arrangement. It's got height with the cross, but the flowers themselves are going to kind of be long and low. So I'm just going to take my eucalyptus, and I am going to go around in this container. We're gonna make sure that we're camouflaging that tape. It's important that that tape doesn't show. So I'm just taking my eucalyptus and I'm cutting it into small pieces. So you can see how it had lots of little pieces. So just cut it in small pieces and tuck it right in. Now you can use any type of foliage. I love eucalyptus, therefore I'm using euc, but you can use leather leaf to cover this. Go out, cut your greenery out of the yard if you want to. I love greenery out of the yard because it's free. So go out and cut you some greenery and tuck that into that arrangement. And let me tell you how you're going to know if that greenery is going to hold up. Go and cut it, drop it in a vase of water, and see if it holds up. Sometimes some greenery just doesn't hold as a cut foliage. It just, I don't know why, but some greeneries just don't hold. And so just know that you can't use those in an arrangement. But if you do go and cut some greenery, then you'll know, put it in that vase, you'll know whether it's going to hold up or not.
Hello.
Okay, so there is some eucalyptus. Next we're going to come in, let's use a little bit of the spiral eucalyptus. So spiral eucalyptus is also called baby blue euc. Often when you smell eucalyptus, the fragrance of eucalyptus, this is the euc that really puts off that eucalyptus fragrance. These tips have some bumps and bruises, so I just cut those tips right out. It's completely okay. And look, you can actually take, goodness me, everything's sticking together here. You can take these little laterals and just cut those off and add those right into your arrangement. But it always makes such a pretty line too. You know, if you need some line something to give you kind of height and some line, this eucalyptus is perfect for that. Okay, and then we have a little bit of seeded eucalyptus. I'm just going to break it into pieces. Anytime you have a leaf that might have a bump or bruise, remove that and go ahead and still use those seeds if they look good. It's like a rose. If it has a bad looking petal, just pull that petal off. It's not hurting a thing. All right, so there's our greenery. We will add more as we need it. But let's add our flowers first, and then we will add some more greenery. We're going to call this our front. So we're going to start out with, let's start out with a couple of white mums. So I personally love a mum, and the reason I like a mum so much is they're very hardy flowers. They hold up just so well, and so I love that. So we're going to take a couple of these mums and we're going to nestle them really low down in this arrangement. You're going to help us to cover some of that foam. And I'm going to put a couple of these blooms in the back too. Got my nose itching. All right, so there's our mums. Next we're going to come in with, let's see what's next. We've got some Alstroemeria lilies. So let's come in with our pretty pink Alstroemeria lilies. So this is a pink and white arrangement. So let's tuck a couple of stems. I'm going to take that Alstro, it's got lots of foliage. I'm going to go ahead and strip that foliage off that stem. I'm going to cut that stem at an angle with my floral knife. And I'm going to nestle. I love these Alstros. They're so big and showy. Very full. Now an Alstroemeria lily is also like a mum in the fact that it's very long lasting. It lasts a long time. It has pretty color. Now when you think of an Alstroemeria lily, they have lots of little flowers on a stem, and they do not have the fragrance of lilies, you know, like a standard lily. But again, they're really long lasting and they bring such a good pop of color. Okay, there's our pink Alstros. Next we are going to come in with some standard pink roses. Well, we've got some pretty dahlias, so let's use these dahlias. Now, the one thing about these dahlias is their stems are really very fragile. So I'm going to take a piece of wire and I'm going to push it into the back of his the bloom, and I'm going to come around that stem. What that's going to do is give us some stability. So that little head, it's firmer. You know, it just gives us some stability in that flower. And I am going to take that bloom and just push it right down into that floral foam. So that pretty dahlia is right there in the front. We'll take another stem. Again, I'm going to use a wire because it is pretty fragile. I'm going to use this wire and I'm pressing it right here into the back of the bloom. And then I'm going to take it and twist it right around that stem. Again, it's just giving us the stability. Trying to keep that little head from popping. I'm going to cut that stem at an angle. And I am going to tuck it right down there in the front. Now it is covering that mum, but that mum was really for deep color, so I think it's completely okay to cover that mum. We still have plenty of pretty mums in there, but I love that that kind of gives us a little bit of depth in color. Next, we're going to come in with some pretty pink roses. I am not exactly sure of the variety of this rose, but it is a really pretty, it's just a different color than all of the others. And so this arrangement, the picture showed shades of pink, and so I like that this one is kind of almost a little bubblegum color pink. So I wired that rose, and I'm going to take my floral knife and I'm going to cut that at an angle. We're going to tuck him kind of over here to the side. And you can leave, like some of this foliage, you can leave it on there. But if it gets in the way, go ahead and pull that foliage off. But anytime you're using roses to do like a dozen roses, leave that foliage on if it looks pretty. Because that way you don't have to use quite as much foliage if it has pretty foliage. Cut that stem at an angle. You're going to tuck him in on this side. I'm going to turn it around. We're going to add a little color back here. I have a couple more of those roses. Anytime your rose has a bump or a bruise on those petals, go ahead and pull that petal off. It's not going to hurt the rose. I'm going to take my wire, cut that stem at an angle. I do think I'm going to put that one up in front over here. All right. Next we have got some pretty pink spray roses. So a spray rose versus a standard rose. A spray rose is a smaller bloom and it has lots of blooms on one stem. So this is one stem of spray roses and it has 6 blooms on it. So I mean, I feel like you get a whole lot more for your money when you use a spray rose, but it really depends on the variety. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to individually, if they've got long enough stems, I'm going to pull the bloom off and nestle it right into my arrangement. So I'm pulling, you see I've got one bloom. And if their stems are long enough, go ahead and leave and pull those off and use them as individual blooms. Now you'll get up toward the top of that arrangement and you'll notice that the stems get shorter. Go ahead and just use those stems as one. Okay, and you can see how I've just kind of nestled several of those blooms. That's one stem. So that's wonderful. Now this one, the stems are not quite as long, so I won't be able to break off too many of the blooms and use those individually. So it's so pretty and pink, isn't it? Okay, next we have some really pretty pink standard carnations. So let me show you a trick about a carnation. This carnation isn't as open as it could be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand and I'm just going to make okay. I'm going to nestle that carnation right into those two fingers, and then I'm going to brush that bloom to open up its petals. So it just opens it up a little. We're going to cut those stems at an angle, and very carefully we're going to press them right into this foam. I love this color. It's such a pretty, bold pink. It's so pretty. And I do love that all of these pinks really work so pretty together. One more bloom. Okay. Now lastly, the last thing we're going to add is a little bit of a filler flower. And so the filler flower that we chose, the pink filler that I had in, is called a steel bee. Now a steel bee is a beautiful feathery filler flower. Now it's just so pretty and so feathery, really dainty. And so we're going to take that and we're just going to add a few little pieces here and there. Now what it's going to do for us is it's going to give us a little bit of texture, a little bit of color, and a little bit of movement. So a lot of times, like when you move an arrangement, I like to see things move. I don't want it to be so stuffy that it doesn't move. And so that's what I love about like the eucalyptus and a pretty feathery filler flower, is it gives us a little bit of movement in that arrangement. All right, to finish off this arrangement, I am just going to go around the edge and I'm going to make sure that none of this tape is showing. So I'm going to take, I've got some seeded eucalyptus here. I'm going to take a little bit of this heavier seeded eucalyptus. So see how they're pretty heavy stem or heavy leaves. And I am just going to go right around the edge of this container and tuck that eucalyptus all the way around. Now the reason is that it's so important, guys, to make sure you're covering those mechanics. I just don't want you to see where I taped that foam in. So I'm going to turn this container and I am going to tuck that greenery in all the way around. To make sure that we're covering up our mechanics. And I kind of always, it's kind of like your undergarments. You always want to make sure that if you're wearing a slip under your dress or your skirt, that it is not showing, and it's the same with your mechanics. Just make sure that they're not showing. And that probably shows my age. I don't know if young people would even know what a slip was these days. All right, there is our finished sympathy arrangement. It is in shades of pink and white, and it has a pretty cross in the center. It is pretty on both sides. There are flowers all the way around. So this would be a perfect centerpiece to be placed on a table, but it's a perfect sympathy arrangement for a funeral. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. If there are any questions you might have about how we put this arrangement together or how we do anything around here, you know you can certainly ask. We're so happy to answer those questions. If you'll do me a favor, if you have not already, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. You'll hit that little subscribe button down below, and there is a bell that you can hit, and it will give you notifications for when we have a new video. Do me a favor and like this video, and if you haven't checked us out over on Facebook and TikTok, check us out over there at Flowers by the Bunch. Guys, y'all have a great day. We'll see you soon.